In the near future, due to interference from unknown cosmic rays, some plants and animals on Earth evolve into new creatures that humans call ghost beasts. Li Wenxuan, at 18 years old, drops out of school and abandons his dream of becoming a beast tamer to work as a mere ghost beast miner, all to pay for his sister's leg treatment. One day, Wenxuan hears a host discussing the changes in that year's beast tamer certification exam and introducing Kelly, one of the world's strongest beast tamers, to explain the details. Kelly states that most ghost beasts need minerals with the same attribute to evolve, but some with special attributes evolve through different means. The host then asks Kelly if she could elaborate. She explains that certain ghost beasts with special attributes can evolve by absorbing specific emotions. As ghost beasts have taken over many jobs previously done by humans, those unable to tame beasts are left with only the lowest paying jobs, such as ghost beast mining. Being a ghost beast miner means entering the domains of these creatures to extract minerals of different attributes. Though the minerals that enable ghost beasts to evolve are valuable, miners receive extremely low wages. Wenxuan understands that this situation is unavoidable. After all, ghost beasts not only work harder than humans, but are also cuter. He then buys 2 meat buns from a vendor ghost beast. As he receives his food, someone calls out to him from behind. Turning around, he sees his uncle Wong. Wong hands him some food and tells him to try it, mentioning that it's from a popular new ghost beast shop. Just then, they overhear some miners gossiping about Wenxuan's return, mocking him for his small frame and saying he can barely carry a few stones, yet still earns the same as them. Wenxuan awkwardly smiles, aware of their resentment but wishing they would lower their voices. Wong, however, angrily confronts them, reminding them that Wenxuan is still young and that they, as adults, should not be picking on him. He also points out that if it weren't for Wenxuan working to pay for his sister's treatment, he would already be a beast tamer. Wenxuan admits that his physical condition isn't great, but vows to carry more minerals this time, which frustrates Wong even more. Wong rebukes him, insisting that Wenxuan is not at fault, the others are. Suddenly, someone appears and remarks that, from the way they are arguing, it seems they are ready to enter the domain and start digging. He then asks if anyone else needs to prepare, adding that those who are ready should get moving. The beast tamer accompanying them raises his hand and successfully opens the domain gate. Stepping inside, he looks back at the miners and signals them to follow. One by one, they enter. Wenxuan swears to himself that this time he will extract more minerals and silence his critics. As they prepare for the day's work, Wong asks the miners how they are organizing their teams. One miner sarcastically suggests that Wong take care of Wenxuan, proposing that they be placed on the same team. Another miner agrees. Enraged, Wenxuan protests that if they have an issue with him, they should leave Wong out of it. However, Wong stops him, saying they will stick together and that Wenxuan shouldn't worry about them. A while later, Wenxuan and Wang work on different sides of the mining site. Wenxuan apologizes for causing trouble, but Wang dismisses his concerns, telling him to focus on working hard. Encouraged, Wenxuan confidently agrees. An hour later, Wenxuan is exhausted but refuses to give up. He cannot let Wang down. He must push through. Suddenly, a loud scream echoes from the other side of the site. Panic grips him as he asks Wang what is happening. They rush toward the source of the scream, where a miner frantically points at a beast, shouting that it's a murderer. Strangely, the beast tamer merely stands still, silently glaring at them, which shocks both Wenxuan and Wang. The miners desperately call out to the beast tamer, accusing his ghost beast of going crazy and biting people. They urge him to take action, while others shout for emergency help. At first, the beast tamer smiles reassuringly, claiming he will handle the nightmare wolf. But then, his expression twists into something deranged as he suddenly orders his ghost beast to kill them all. The wolf immediately lets go of its first victim, lunges forward, and slashes one miner while pinning another to the ground. Panic spreads as the miners flee. Wenxuan, however, is frozen in shock. Could this really be happening? He suddenly recalls Kelly's warning. Some shadow-type ghost beasts can evolve by feeding on human negative emotions like anger or despair. If encountered in the wild, they must be handled with extreme caution. He then shouts for everyone not to run around chaotically, not to panic, and to gather together because the nightmare wolf will become even stronger. He explains that the beast tamer wants to take advantage of everyone's fear to evolve his nightmare wolf, so they should not be scared. If they stick together, the nightmare wolf is not invincible, but they do not believe him. The beast tamer expresses his surprise, admitting that he did not expect it and that Wenxuan seems weak, but in reality, he is thinking clearly. He then tells everyone that, just as Wenxuan said, his shadow-type nightmare wolf needs to absorb their negative emotions at death to evolve. He gives them 2 options. They can listen to Wenxuan and team up to fight against the nightmare wolf to see if they can defeat it before it eliminates them all, or they can kill each other and allow his nightmare wolf to absorb enough energy to evolve. Wang and the other miners look at each other, which Wenxuan notices. He panics, knowing that they cannot fall into the beast tamer's trap and that they must calm everyone down because, if this continues, everyone will end up killing each other. However, he is shocked when he sees the beast tamer's shoulder tattoo, which the beast tamer had hidden from the start. He recognizes it as the tattoo of the ghost beast criminal organization Shadow Hunters, making him wonder if the beast tamer is a criminal. The beast tamer creepily smiles upon seeing their reactions and tells them that he will give them 5 seconds to decide. He then begins counting down. Wenxuan shouts for everyone to calm down and not to trust the beast tamer because he is not a good person. But he is stunned in shock when someone stabs him from behind. He coughs up blood while calling them idiots. Looking back to see who stabbed him, he is even more shocked when he sees that it was his trustworthy uncle Wang. Stuttering, he asks Wang why. Wang, trembling, responds that Wenxuan should not blame him because he does not want to die. He reminds Wenxuan that he has always helped him and asks if he thinks it is fair for him to die for Wenxuan when he has a wife and kids while Wenxuan has nothing. Wang then shouts that he does not want to fight against the nightmare wolf because humans will never be able to defeat the ghost beasts. He begs Wenxuan to die for himself and for his family. Wenxuan calls Wang's bastard and pulls himself away from the pickaxe piercing his shoulder. Turning around, he is about to punch Wang in the face but is shocked when he sees another miner. Before he can react, the miner strikes him in the face with a pickaxe, making him slam down onto the ground. He curses all of them, but they simply walk closer, ready to kill him. As he lies there, he sees the miners attacking and killing each other while the beast tamer praises them and orders his beast to absorb all their negative emotions to reach its next stage. The beast tamer is amazed, realizing that the energy generated by their mutual slaughter is greater than what he would have obtained by killing them himself. A moment later, the beast tamer walks away, leaving only 3 miners alive. Wang, one of the traitors, asks the others if they survived. One miner looks at Wenxuan's body, which is barely breathing, and asks Wang what they should do now. Wang sees Wenxuan still breathing but simply kicks him toward the river and responds that they will say it was a mining accident. Wenxuan sees a glimpse of Wang telling the others that no one can say a single wrong word, and that before they leave, they should all agree on their version, which the other 2 miners accept. He sinks deeper into the river while wondering if he is dead. However, he does not want to die. If he dies, he wonders what will happen to his sister and who will take care of her. He then remembers his sister telling him in the morning to come back early that night, which he had agreed to while reminding her to have lunch as well. Determined to live, he swears that he cannot die now and vows to take revenge on Wang and the beast tamer. Suddenly, huge red eyes appear beneath him, sensing his feelings of betrayal, hatred, anger, and an intense desire for revenge. The presence seems to acknowledge that he might be useful to it. It then tells him that it will grant him its power and expresses its hope that he will destroy the world that enslaves them completely. Dark power floods into his body, making him scream in pain. An hour later, the river bubbled, and a hand emerged from it. He immediately raised his head out of the water, gasping for breath while holding something in one of his hands. Looking around, he noticed that those bastards were already gone. Stepping out of the river, he threw a ghost beast out as well. Coughing up water, he suddenly realized that his wounds had disappeared. Looking at the ghost beast, he wondered if the fainted strawberry cat had saved him. However, as far as he knew, strawberry cats were not supposed to have healing abilities. Suddenly, a panel appeared in front of him, showing that his ghost beast evolution system had been activated. He stared at it, wondering what this thing that looked like a game interface was. The panel then displayed a mission indicating that he had to establish a ghost beast contract with the strawberry cat, though it was incomplete. He questioned whether this meant he had to become a beast tamer. However, he already knew that to take revenge on those bastards, he had no choice but to become one. Looking at the dizzy strawberry cat, he reached toward it, even though he did not understand why it had appeared there. Placing his fingers on its head, he figured that since it was here, it would become his ghost beast. Before he could make the contract, the cat suddenly regained consciousness. Just as he was about to ask if it had woken up, he was startled when it jumped away from him and growled. The cat positioned itself like a martial artist and launched its claws at him. He quickly tried to explain that he meant no harm, and was the one who had pulled it out from the bottom of the lake, yet it still attacked at an incredible speed, sending him flying and knocking him to the ground. Proudly, it stood over him, looking satisfied with itself. He cursed it in anger and dashed toward it, ready to fight back. The cat, seeing this, prepared itself once again. A moment later, outside the mining domain, the color of the domain gate changed to red, signaling that it had been opened. He stepped out, covered in wounds, holding the collapsed strawberry cat in his arms. Suddenly, he heard people shouting about the portal making noise and someone coming out. Cursing under his breath, he knew that no one could find out he was still alive. Without hesitation, he hid behind a nearby building. Peering out, he saw 2 miners rushing toward the domain, wondering if they were foremen of other mining teams. When the miners reached the domain and saw nothing, they found it strange but reassured themselves that there could not be any more survivors. The bald man reminded Lao Li that Wong had a truly disastrous day, as many of his close brothers had died in the mine. Lao Li agreed, adding that when Wong came out, he had been screaming desperately, wanting to go back to rescue them. Fortunately, Liu Tu had stopped him. Hearing this, Wenxuan clenched his fists in anger. If Wong had not stabbed him first, so many people would not have died. He swore that Wong would pay the price with his own hands. A moment later, he arrived at his apartment building and noticed smoke rising from it. A crowd had gathered outside. Confused, he wondered what was happening. Before he could ask, his neighbor saw him and ran over, asking where he had been. She then shouted that his house was on fire, shocking him. The woman quickly assured him that she had already called the firefighters and that they would be there soon. Then, with a worried expression, she asked about Xian, wondering if she had gone out with him. A wave of horror hit him as he realized the implication of her words. Without thinking, he rushed toward the building. The woman shouted after him in concern, warning him not to go in because the fire had spread significantly. Ignoring her, he ran toward his apartment floor. Coughing from the thickening smoke, he knocked on his apartment door, calling out to Xian, asking if she was there and if she could hear him. The smoke grew heavier, and then he heard faint coughing from inside the apartment. The realization sent a jolt of terror through him. Shouting for her to wait, he promised that he would get her out of there. Desperately, he shoved his key into the lock and twisted it, but the door did not open. He tried again and again, but it would not budge. Gritting his teeth, he forcefully twisted the handle, only for it to collapse in his hand, sending him stumbling backward onto the floor. His heart pounded as he called out to Xian, but there was no response, deepening his horror. Panic surged through him as he looked at the broken door handle in his hands before immediately getting back up. He started kicking the door repeatedly with all his strength. Through the thick smoke, Xian coughed and told him not to worry about her, urging him to leave. But he did not stop. Desperately, he shouted for someone to help him, begging them to save his sister, emphasizing that she was only 13 years old. Just then, the panel displayed a message indicating that Strawberry Cat had absorbed the energy of anger and was about to awaken, and began counting. At that moment, Strawberry Cat suddenly woke up and immediately stood on its feet. Without hesitation, it took a martial artist's stance in front of the locked door. Then, with a single powerful strike, it launched its paw forward and successfully shattered the door open. Inside the apartment, Xian, who had been right behind the door, stared in shock and fear. Wenchuan looked up to see Strawberry Cat standing proudly, a smug expression on its face. For a moment, confusion crossed his mind. Later in the forest, the beast tamers were gathered, discussing their achievements and future plans while he sat at the side with his Strawberry Cat. He knew that he needed to find a powerful ghost beast as soon as possible and become a beast tamer. Only then could he keep his sister safe. 12 hours earlier, Xian was patting Strawberry Cat, which visibly irritated it. She asked him if something like that had really happened and whether they should call the police. He replied that they could not, explaining that while Wong was easy to deal with, if the beast tamer found out he was still alive, he would definitely come to kill him. He then reassured her that he would not let her be in danger again. Back in the forest, the beast tamers teased him for making a contract with a Strawberry Cat. They questioned whether he had really used one of his 2 precious beginner beast tamer contract slots on a Strawberry Cat, while the cat itself was busy eating beside him. Ignoring them, he focused on the flame-horned bull, a level 10 fire attribute ghost beast without any rare attributes. He wondered what was up with these kinds of ghost beasts and why they seemed so weak. Then, he noticed an ice dog with an ice attribute, level 8, but possessing 2 attributes, and a cuddly rabbit with a plant attribute, level 6, but with only 1 rare attribute. His gaze shifted back to Strawberry Cat, wondering if there was something strange about it. Unlike the others, it had no listed attribute, was only level 5, yet possessed 4 rare attributes. The thought made him question whether those attributes truly belonged to the Strawberry Cat. Suddenly, a man ran toward them at full speed, shouting for help, claiming there was a second-rank ghost beast in the forest. The others questioned him, expressing their doubts, as the forest was supposed to be a low-level ghost beast area. They found it hard to believe that a second-rank ghost beast could be here. However, they quickly realized that if they managed to capture it, they would become unbeatable among beginner beast tamers. They then turned to the blonde man and asked if he knew what type of ghost beast it was. The blonde man responded that it was too fast, and that he had only caught a glimpse of its shadow for a moment, but he guessed that it was a second-rank lightning cat. His words shocked everyone, and in an instant, they all ran into the forest, eager to catch it. Watching them, Wenchuan decided that it was best not to get involved in this mess. He had no desire to run into someone like Wang again. He stood up and told Strawberry Cat that they should go catch a ghost beast. Strawberry Cat glanced back at him for a second but continued eating, frustrating him. Annoyed, he thought to himself that he needed to find a ghost beast that would obey him completely. Picking the cat up, he told it to stop eating and get to work. A minute later, as they walked deeper into the forest, he shouted at Strawberry Cat, telling it not to run aimlessly. He explained that even though this was a low-level ghost beast area, it was still dangerous. However, the cat continued jumping around, ignoring him. Growing irritated, he ordered it to walk properly, but it only smirked at him, making him even more frustrated. He could not shake the feeling that it was doing this on purpose. Just then, he hit a thin thread hanging in the air. Confused, he barely had time to react before it snapped. His eyes widened in horror as a candy spider appeared in front of him, landing in his path. Fortunately, he jumped away just in time to avoid being crushed. Recognizing it as an enraged candy spider, a level 8 plant attribute ghost beast, he turned and ran. None of it made sense. Candy spiders were known to be incredibly peaceful creatures. He wondered if he had accidentally triggered something while passing through. Glancing back, he stopped in his tracks when he saw Strawberry Cat taunting the candy spider. Realization struck. Strawberry Cat was the one to blame. The candy spider screeched in anger, making them tremble. When the spider charged at them, Strawberry Cat unexpectedly leaped forward to attack. Panic surged through Wenxuan as he called the cat stupid, questioning how it could dare to fight a level 8 candy spider when it was only level 5. The spider spat out its web, wrapping it around Strawberry Cat, making Wenxuan finally understand why no beast tamer wanted a Strawberry Cat. Rushing back, he grabbed the cat and ran at full speed, leaving the candy spider even angrier. For a moment, he was too focused on running to think about anything else. Then, looking back, he noticed that the spider was still chasing them. The spider then spat venom at them, but luckily, he jumped just in time to dodge it. However, confusion set in when he realized that he had jumped too far. His stomach dropped as he looked down. He was off the edge of a cliff. Both he and Strawberry Cat were frozen in shock, but it was already too late. The two of them plummeted off the cliff. The candy spider stepped closer to the edge, peering down, its anger still burning. Suddenly, a powerful stream of water shot toward the spider, startling it. Before it could react, the water instantly transformed into ice, trapping it inside. The blonde man approached, stopping near the cliff. His gaze lowered as he looked down with a menacing expression. A few minutes later, Wenxuan was lying on the ground near the river when he opened his eyes in pain. Sitting up, he initially thought he was dead. However, confusion set in when he heard Strawberry Cat meowing in anger. Turning around, he was startled to realize that he had been sitting on the cat. Quickly lifting it up, he apologized and asked if it was okay, but the cat simply glared at him. Looking around, he noticed that they had fallen to the bottom of a valley in the forest on the west slope. A moment later, Strawberry Cat screamed in anger and punched a sheep nearby. Wenxuan recognized the sheep as a typically docile ghost beast, which made him question why all the ghost beasts he had encountered today were so aggressive. He wondered whether they really deserved such hostility. Turning back to Strawberry Cat, he watched as it feigned ignorance, which irritated him even more. Sometimes he felt like punching it himself. Looking at the collapsed sheep again, he noticed that even though it was unconscious, it remained in a state of rage. That realization made him suspect that something was not right. If the issue was not with the ghost beasts themselves, then something was affecting the entire valley. He glanced at Strawberry Cat, which stood there proudly, and knew that they had to leave before it got into trouble as well. He shouted at it to follow him, pointing out that they could exit on the other side and needed to get out quickly. However, the cat simply turned around, making him wonder if it had already been affected. To his frustration, Strawberry Cat walked off in a different direction. Annoyed, he shouted at it, demanding to know why it never listened to him, and reminding it that the area was dangerous. Despite his protests, it continued forward, leaving him with no choice but to follow. After some time, they arrived at an old house, surprising him. He wondered if a structure existed in such a place. He turned to Strawberry Cat and asked if it had brought him here on purpose, to which it simply responded with a yes. He then noticed that the windmill on the house was spinning due to the presence of red smoke, making him wonder what it was. Suddenly, a loud and powerful growl echoed around them, filling him with terror. He questioned what kind of terrifying creature could be making that sound. However, Strawberry Cat signaled for him to go inside the house. Hesitantly, he asked if it really wanted him to enter. Picking up a fallen tree branch from the ground, he reluctantly agreed. Together, they carefully opened the door. The moment the door creaked open, an unbearable stench rushed out, making him cover his nose. Peeking inside, he was shocked to see ghost beasts trapped in cages. Hearing one of the beasts growling in pain, he approached it. He recognized it as an extreme ice dog and was horrified by its severe injuries. He wondered how it had ended up in such a terrible state. Turning to Strawberry Cat, he asked if it could break the lock, to which it agreed. Without hesitation, it began punching the cage door repeatedly, making him think that for once it was actually being useful. As soon as the door broke open, he knelt beside the extreme ice dog, gently patting its head with concern. He asked if it was okay and if it could move. A system panel appeared, displaying the dog's condition. It was agonizing, severely injured, bleeding, and poisoned. Wenxuan was horrified, wondering who in their right mind would commit such cruel acts. He took out a potion, knowing that it was only a basic healing potion, but he had no other choice. He could only hope it would work. However, before he could give it to the dog, the beast shivered in fear. Panicking, he quickly reassured it, explaining that he was there to help, and that it had nothing to be afraid of. Carefully, he placed the potion in the dog's mouth. Standing up, he scanned the room and realized that every single ghost beast there had been brutally tortured. The horrifying scene confirmed that someone was conducting cruel experiments. He wondered if the criminal beast tamer from before was behind this. Before he could think further, the extreme ice dog suddenly tugged at his pants. Worried, he asked if it could stand, relieved when he saw that the potion was working. When he asked if it wanted to show him something, the dog barked in response. Following the dog, they exited the house and headed to the backyard, where an underground door was visible. He wondered if it led to a basement, and the dog confirmed it. Opening the door, he was immediately hit by an even stronger stench, signaling that the area below was likely another experimentation lab. With Strawberry Cat beside him, he cautiously descended the stairs. Looking around, he questioned whether the facility had been built separately and whether something special was hidden there. Suddenly, bright red eyes appeared in the darkness behind Strawberry Cat. A massive mouth lunged forward. Reacting instantly, Wenxuan pushed Strawberry Cat down just in time to avoid the attack. Looking back, his eyes widened in horror. It was a second-phase Bloodthirsty Hound ghost beast. The panel displayed that the Bloodthirsty Hound was level 32, had a fire attribute, and possessed 2 rare attributes. However, it was in a state of fury, severely injured, bleeding, and poisoned. He then noticed a chain around its neck and wondered if it had been tied up there. Suddenly, the extreme ice dog jumped toward the hound, making him panic. Shouting for it to stop, he asked if it wanted to die. However, instead of attacking, the dog simply licked the hound. To his surprise, the hound immediately calmed down. Stunned, he questioned how this was possible. The extreme ice dog barked at him. Looking at Strawberry Cat, which was calmly sitting next to him, he asked if the dog was calling him. Strawberry Cat nodded in agreement. Turning back to the dog, he told it that if it could promise the hound would not attack, they would approach. The dog then communicated this to the hound in its own language. Slowly, he stepped closer. Halfway there, his eyes landed on a book lying on a table. Curious, he walked over and saw that it was an experiment log. As he flipped through the pages, he read the entries. On day 1, the scientist acquired new test subjects, capturing 2 extreme ice dogs, a mother and her pup. On day 9, the scientist forced the larger extreme ice dog to devour the corpses of other ghost beasts. On day 15, the scientist noted that the extreme ice dog was difficult to control, its will so strong that it disgusted him. However, after brutally beating its puppy in front of it, he finally managed to enrage it. On day 20, the scientist observed that the puppy had still not died, concluding that once the adult dog evolved into a bloodthirsty hound, forcing it to devour its own offspring might trigger an unexpected transformation. Wenxuan's hands clenched into fists as he finished reading. He could not believe what he had just read. His mind reeled at the sheer cruelty of it, wondering what kind of monster would do something so inhumane. Steeling himself, he turned to the bloodthirsty hound and assured it that he would get it out of there. He then asked Strawberry Cat if it could break the chain while he worked on removing the collar. Without hesitation, Strawberry Cat grabbed a hammer and agreed. With one powerful strike, the chain shattered. For a moment, Wenxuan wondered if it was just his imagination, or if Strawberry Cat was actually obeying him for once. Turning his attention to the collar, he began loosening the screws, knowing they had to free the bloodthirsty hound first. Using all his strength, he finally managed to remove the collar. Gasping for breath, he thought to himself that if not for his years of working in the mines, no one else would have had the stamina to do this. As soon as he freed the hound, the extreme ice dog jumped onto his lap. Smiling, he reassured it that he was only resting for a bit and would rescue its mother soon. Looking back, he saw that only one chain remained. Just as he was about to free the last restraint, the bloodthirsty hound suddenly lunged at him, pinning him to the ground. Shocked, he demanded to know what it was doing. Before he could react further, he heard footsteps approaching, accompanied by the sound of crying. Realizing that humans were coming, he wondered if they were from the lab. Quickly, he called for Strawberry Cat, telling it that they needed to hide. The cat agreed, and they all took cover behind the boxes. Whispering to the hound, he told it to wrap the chain around its body and stay still so they would not suspect anything. The hound complied without hesitation. Peering through a gap between the crates, he watched as someone threw a man inside. The man begged the scientist not to kill him, swearing that he would not reveal anything. Recognizing him, Wenxuan was shocked. The man was the ghost beast tamer they had seen at the entrance of the secret forest. He wondered how he had ended up here. The scientist stepped forward and stopped in front of the trembling man. The scientist was holding an injured extreme ice dog. With a chilling smile, he told the man to calm down, reassuring him that he was merciful toward humans. He only tortured ghost beasts. He remembered that the blonde man was the one who had claimed there were second-phase ghost beasts in the forest. The realization made him wonder if this laboratory belonged to that man. The blonde man questioned the captive, asking if he had not wondered why the normally docile and obedient extreme ice dog had attacked him today. The captive, visibly shaken, asked the blonde man if he had done something to it. The blonde man responded casually, explaining that he had spread a large amount of blood rose pollen throughout the forest. This pollen caused the ghost beasts in the secret forest to enter a state of rage and attack each other. Wenxuan's mind clicked. This must be the red smoke floating outside. The blonde man then raised a crossbow, aiming it directly at the captive's head. With a mocking tone, he told the man that he could die in peace now. Panicked, the man begged for forgiveness, swearing that he would not reveal anything. Desperately, he warned the blonde man that if he did not return, the police would come to investigate. Unfazed, the blonde man simply moved the crossbow closer and released the arrow, shooting the man in the head. Calling the man an idiot, he coldly explained that in the secret region, the death of a ghost beast tamer was such a common occurrence that no one would care about it. Afterward, he threw the man's extreme dog onto the ground as well, stating that they would be perfect food for his ghost beasts. Wenxuan confirmed in his mind that this man was completely insane. He knew he had to find help. Whispering to the bloodthirsty hound, he told it that he was going to get its son out of there and bring reinforcements. In the meantime, he needed it to distract the blonde man. Asking if it could do that, he was relieved when the hound gave a firm nod. Facing the blonde man, the hound growled in anger. The blonde man, slightly annoyed, told it to stop growling since he had just brought it food. However, the hound refused, continuing to growl in defiance, drawing the blonde man's full attention. The blonde man then asked if it was acting especially energetic today, wondering if it was because he had been killing people right in front of it. While the blonde man was distracted, Wenxuan took the opportunity to move. Holding the extreme ice dog in his arms, he carefully made his way toward the exit with Strawberry Cat at his side. Just as he was about to escape, he froze in shock. A towering wall of ice had suddenly appeared at the entrance. Confused, he questioned how the ice wall had formed. Then, he noticed a guardian ghost beast outside. It was a second-phase ice-type ghost beast, the ice demonic flower. The blonde man turned toward them, his smile widening as he commented that it seemed they had caught an intruder rat. Without hesitation, he ordered the ice demonic flower to freeze their legs. Obeying immediately, the ghost beast released a powerful block of ice beneath them, trapping their feet to the ground. The blonde man then fired an arrow directly at Wenxuan. Acting on instinct, Wenxuan shielded the extreme ice dog in his arms. Fortunately, before the arrow could reach them, the bloodthirsty hound shattered it with a powerful strike. Wenxuan was startled, but the blonde man was even more shocked when he looked up to see the hound standing in front of him, burning with rage. The blonde man wondered how the hound had escaped and peeked to his side, where he saw its collar open. He then shouted at Wenxuan, asking if he knew what he had done, yelling that the rabid dog would kill them all. Wenxuan responded that it was not certain and told the hound that its chance for revenge had come. The bloodthirsty hound opened its mouth to attack the blonde man, but the blonde man managed to call his ice demonic flower and ordered it to stop the hound. However, the ice demonic flower was simply crushed when the hound bit it. The blonde man immediately ran away, calling the ice demonic flower useless. Wenxuan then noticed that the ice was fading along with the consciousness of the ice demonic flower. The blonde man rushed to open the gates of the other ghost beasts and ordered them to come out and finish off the hound. 4 different ghost beasts emerged from the cages, but before they could attack, the hound struck one of them with its tail and pushed another with its mouth, causing both ghost beasts to collapse immediately. The 2 remaining ghost beasts trembled in fear but were both shocked when the blonde man shouted at them to attack the hound immediately. He warned them that if they did not attack, he would make them wish they were dead. With no other choice, the 2 ghost beasts dashed forward. The snake bit the hound while the other jumped at the hound's head. The blonde man then ran away, thinking that those beasts only needed to keep the hound occupied for a little while. Wenxuan chased after the blonde man, shouting that he should not think he could escape. He then ordered Strawberry Cat to attack. The cat followed his command, punching the blonde man with its martial technique, sending him to the ground. The blonde man looked at Strawberry Cat, which stood proudly, as if telling him that he should run away. Wenxuan told the blonde man that he should not think he would let him get away so easily after what he had done. The blonde man pinned himself against the wall and responded that he was not going to run. Reaching for a hidden switch, Wenxuan noticed his movement and ordered Strawberry Cat to stop him quickly. However, the blonde man shouted that they should be the ones running and press the switch. A red smoke then spread inside the laboratory, and Wenxuan noticed that the extreme ice dog was being affected. He panicked, knowing that with it, all the ghost beasts would go into a frenzy. He then saw that the hound and the 2 other beasts were also affected. Grabbing the blonde man's collar in anger, he shouted that not only would he doom all the ghost beasts, but he would die as well. However, the blonde man sneered and asked if Wenxuan thought he was as stupid as him. At that moment, a cage fell from the ceiling, trapping the blonde man inside. The blonde man mockingly shouted that the only ones who would die there were them and called them idiots. Wenxuan then began to hear the hound and the 2 beasts fighting and killing each other behind him. He knew that the bloodthirsty hound was already unstable, but now, with the effect of the smoke, it had entered a state of absolute frenzy. When the hound finished killing the other beasts, it turned its gaze toward him, startling him. He immediately grabbed Strawberry Cat and the extreme ice dog and ran toward the entrance at full speed, knowing he had to escape before the 2 lost control as well. As he neared the stairs leading to the entrance, ice suddenly trapped both of his feet. Looking down, he saw that it was the ice demonic flower, still alive. The hound then angrily swung its claw in his direction. Wenxuan closed his eyes, shielding the 2 little beasts in his arms. At that moment, the extreme ice dog barked in pain, its voice filled with tears. The sound snapped the hound back to its senses slightly, and instead of attacking, it smashed the ice that was trapping Wenxuan's feet. Wenxuan wondered if the hound still recognized the extreme ice dog as its son, even after inhaling so much of the pollen. Suddenly, Strawberry Cat jumped out of his arms and launched its fist at the hound. Then, positioning its fist, Strawberry Cat released the absolute void god of war Meow Meow fist at the ceiling. The attack's force directly shot toward the machine, shattering it into pieces. The power also pierced through the laboratory and the house, destroying the windmill that had been spreading the smoke in the secret forest, saving the ghost beasts living there. The blonde man trembled in fear, stuttering as he asked how it was possible. Wenxuan walked closer to the blonde man and told him that it was his turn now. The blonde man admitted that he was wrong and begged for forgiveness. He swore that he would never dare to do it again, and even offered all his ghost beasts to Wenxuan in exchange for his freedom. However, Wenxuan simply asked him if the beast tamers and ghost beasts he had killed had also begged for their lives, and how he had answered them. A red aura of anger began to radiate from Wenxuan, shocking the blonde man. In desperation, the blonde man shouted, reminding him that if they dared to kill him, he would not be able to escape either. He warned that they would catch him and lock him up in prison. Wenxuan acknowledged that the blonde man was right about that, but calmly stated that in a territory as dangerous as this, it was normal for 1 or 2 beast tamers to die. At that moment, the bloodthirsty hound appeared behind him, filled with rage. The blonde man clenched his teeth, about to shout something, but Wenxuan said nothing and simply let the hound act. Without hesitation, the hound rushed at the blonde man and bit him repeatedly until he was dead. Turning to Strawberry Cat, Wenxuan said that they should leave. But before he could take a step, he felt a soft tug on his sleeve. Looking back, he asked the hound what was wrong. The hound then carefully pushed the extreme ice dog toward him. Realizing what it wanted, he asked if it wanted him to take care of its son. The hound nodded. A system panel appeared, showing that the bloodthirsty hound was on the brink of death and had no healing method available. Reaching for the extreme ice dog, Wenxuan agreed and promised the hound that he would take care of its child until it grew up. With that, he walked away, leaving behind the weak extreme ice dog mother that had been forcefully turned into a bloodthirsty hound by the cruel blonde man. Fortunately, the suffering the bloodthirsty hound had endured had finally come to an end. Before it passed away, it ensured the safety of its offspring, allowing it to die in peace. The next day, at the entrance of the secret forest, the gate opened and Wenxuan emerged, holding the extreme ice dog. He wondered how he could form a contract with both ghost beasts. He had tried every method he could find online, but none of them worked. Looking at the sleeping extreme ice dog, he decided to forget about the contract for now, since the pup must be exhausted. Instead, he checked the evolution materials required for the extreme ice dog. The list showed 3 ice crystals, 10 frost herbs, and 1 evolution crystal. He guessed that gathering these materials would not be too difficult. Then, he checked Strawberry Cat's evolution materials and was immediately stunned. The list required 99 ice crystals, 99 lightning crystals, 99 fire cloud crystals, and 1 evolution crystal. Completely baffled, he assumed it must be a visual bug. At least he was relieved that the evolution crystal requirement was still just 1. However, he was unsure whether this situation was a blessing or a curse. Suddenly, he overheard a group of men talking. One of them asked a fat man if he had heard that there had been multiple deaths in the mine lately. The fat man responded that it was not unusual since in secret territories many beast tamers died all the time. Hearing this, Wenxuan was shocked. He approached the men and asked them to explain what was happening in the mine in more detail. His question confused them, but the fat man went ahead and explained the situation. Meanwhile, in the mine, a nightmare wolf was chasing a terrified miner who was desperately begging for help. Unfortunately, the wolf caught up and tore the man apart. While the wolf was busy devouring its victim, a criminal beast tamer turned to someone beside him, remarking that it was a good thing he had not killed the wolf the first time. Otherwise, he would not have such an obedient dog now. Standing beside him, Wong happily bowed and thanked the beast tamer for his compliment. The beast tamer acknowledged Wong's work, pointing out that he had already helped him kill more than 10 miners, and now, his nightmare wolf was about to evolve again. Pleased with himself, Wong responded proudly that it was the least he could do. The beast tamer then handed Wong a ghost beast, explaining that the organization had allowed him to give it as a reward for his performance. Wong accepted the ghost beast eagerly and asked if this meant he could finally become a beast tamer. The beast tamer confirmed it, reminding Wong that the organization never mistreats those who contribute. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Wong bowed repeatedly, thanking him. The beast tamer then ordered Wong to take care of the miners' bodies, adding that they would bring in more people the next day. Without hesitation, Wong agreed. The next day, in the forest mine, a group of miners had gathered. Wong, noticing a man in a hood, approached him and excused himself. Under the hood, Wenxuan observed the scene. He was surprised, though he had already expected Wong to approach him, knowing that Wong was the traitor among the miners. Wong then asked him if he was right that his clothes were new and introduced himself as the foreman of that mining team for the day, telling him that he should work hard. Wenxuan simply replied with a yes. Suddenly, someone appeared, calling out to him. A woman angrily shouted, asking how he could be so disrespectful to leader Wong. He asked her back who she was, and she replied that her name was Chen Li, and that she would be going down into the mine with Wong as well. He thought that Li was a crazy woman and wondered why the mining crew would hire kids. He then told her that miners were not allowed to go down into the mine, which made her furious. She shouted at him that she was an adult. Wong stopped them and loudly ordered everyone to get ready because they were heading down into the mine. Li knew that this was the mine where so many people had died. She was determined to uncover the truth behind the accidents and clear her name with the team so that no one would look down on her again. Wenxuan glanced at Li and wondered if it was her first time going into a mine, as her face showed clear nervousness. Wong then energetically shouted for the miners to move, and they all confidently agreed. One by one, they entered the domain. When Wenxuan stepped inside, he looked around, thinking that he had returned to this place again. His gaze then shifted to Wong, hoping that Wong was not as terrible as he imagined. Wong then showed them a stone and explained that it was the fire cloud mineral they were about to extract. He ordered them to split into teams of at least 2 people each. He warned everyone that if any accidents happened while working, they should call for help immediately. After giving instructions, he ordered them to get to work. The miners began forming teams, but no one approached Lee. Wenxuan noticed her standing quietly to the side and asked if she wanted to team up with him since she did not have a partner. However, she loudly denied it, demanding to know who said she did not have a team. She then boasted that she had plenty of strength and pointed out that he looked like the one who was alone. Without arguing, he simply turned around and told her that if she did not want to team up, he would ask someone else. But before he could leave, she softly grabbed his coat and told him that he looked pathetic, so she would help him just this once. But he had better not embarrass her. He simply agreed. He then asked if he was right that this was her first time in the mine. She hesitated before admitting that it was, but she quickly reassured him that she was physically tough. He explained that he was not asking because of her strength. He just wanted to warn her to be careful around Wong and to stay away from him. This confused her, and she asked what he meant by that and if he knew something. However, he turned around and walked away, telling her that it was just a piece of advice and that it was up to her whether to follow it or not. A moment later, Lee placed a mineral in the box and wiped her sweat, realizing that being a miner was far more exhausting than she had imagined. Wenxuan handed her a bottle of water, telling her that she had worked hard and should take a break. Before she could respond, a loud scream echoed through the mine, shocking both of them. They immediately turned around, with Lee wondering what had happened, while Wenxuan had expected something to go wrong. Without hesitation, they both rushed toward the source of the scream. When they arrived, they stood frozen in shock. A massive crystal mineral stood before them. The miners were ecstatic, eagerly discussing how much it was worth and celebrating that they were rich. Someone loudly claimed that since he found it, he should take the largest share of the profit. Another miner praised the man, calling him Lu, and excitedly told him that he was a millionaire now, estimating that a crystal that big must be worth at least 5 million. Laughing, Lu shouted to the others that when they finished, he would treat everyone to a big feast. Wong, standing off to the side, stared at the enormous mineral crystal, convinced that it was his. He was relieved that the beast tamer was not there today, as he was out gathering evolution materials. Otherwise, Wong knew that the crystal would have ended up in the beast tamer's hands. Touching the mineral, Wong began to have dark thoughts. If he killed Liu and took the crystal for himself, he could become even stronger than that beast tamer in the future. Liu then turned to Wong and reminded him of the mining rules. According to the agreement, Liu would receive 60% of the earnings, 10% would go to the mining association, and the remaining 30% would be split among everyone else. He asked Wong if he was right. For a brief moment, Wong glared at Liu in anger, but then his expression softened into a smile as he calmly agreed. Without warning, Wong suddenly pulled out a knife and slashed Liu's neck. Blood splattered everywhere as Liu collapsed onto the ground. Wong, however, remained composed, coldly staring at Liu's lifeless body. The miners stood in horror, frozen in shock. Someone finally broke the silence, shouting and demanding to know what was happening. Wong then loudly declared that the crystal was his, all his, and asked if anyone had a problem with that. Wenxuan glared at Wong in anger, realizing that Wong had completely stopped acting like a human. He knew that Wong had no one to blame but himself for what was about to happen. But before he could act, someone suddenly shouted Wong's name. Wong was surprised and wondered how the hell the police had infiltrated and where his actions had been discovered. Lee aimed her gun at Wong and ordered him to drop the weapon immediately. Wong, shocked to see Lee armed, threw his knife away. He had not expected her to have a weapon. Lee then commanded the other miners to tend to the wounded and call an ambulance. Raising his hands, Wong admitted that he had not expected Lee to be the police and that she had completely surprised him. However, Lee simply asked him if he really thought he could do all those things without anyone finding out. Wenxuan, watching closely, felt that something was not right. Wong was giving up far too easily. Just then, Wong smiled and moved his hand slightly. Wenxuan noticed the movement and immediately shouted for Lee to step aside. Suddenly, something sharp shot out from underground. Fortunately, Lee managed to dodge in time, suffering only a scratch on her face. She quickly jumped away, but before she could react further, her body froze in place. Panic set in as she wondered what was happening. A moment later, a venomous sting centipede, a darkness attribute ghost beast at level 3, emerged from beneath the ground. Wong walked past the centipede, laughing as he approached Lee. Mocking her, he told her that she had underestimated him too much and that he had planned everything from the start. Without hesitation, he grabbed Lee's gun from her grip. Calling her a damn bitch, he asked if she enjoyed playing undercover agent. Then, his expression turned sinister as he told her that today, she would disappear without a trace. Lee immediately shouted to the miners, telling them to run. However, Wong warned them to stop, threatening that if anyone moved, he would kill them on the spot. His words sent a wave of fear through everyone. Smirking, Wong offered them a deal. He told them that if they killed Lee, he would guarantee their survival. Lee, still struggling to move, desperately shouted for them not to believe Wong. She reminded them that there were only 3 bullets left in the magazine and that Wong could not kill them all. She insisted that if even one of them managed to escape and call for reinforcements, Wong would be arrested for sure. Wong, unfazed, laughed and called them naive. He asked them who among them would be the idiot to volunteer to take a bullet in the forehead first. He then added that they would all eventually do the same thing he did, because when faced with life or death, human nature would make them choose to kill to survive. Before Wong could continue, a powerful punch struck him in the face. Wong was sent tumbling to the ground, bouncing before coming to a stop. Slowly, he removed his hood. He remarked that it had been a long time since they had seen each other. He then revealed his face and asked Wong if he still remembered him. Wong's eyes widened in disbelief. He recognized Wenxuan instantly and could not believe that he was still alive. Wenxuan asked if he had suspected he had survived. Wong explained that he had planned to burn Wenxuan's sister alive, but the next day there had been no reports of a fire, so he assumed Wenxuan had made it out. Teasingly, he told Wenxuan that he sure had a tough life to extinguish. With amusement, Wong recounted how he had stabbed Wenxuan 3 times, how the miners had beaten him with shovels for what felt like forever, and yet somehow, he had still managed to cling to life. Meanwhile, the miners began to panic, whispering among themselves about what to do. If even the police officer present could not protect herself, how could they possibly stand a chance? What they thought would be their salvation had turned into false hope. Wong scoffed at their fear and reminded them that he had already told them before. All they had to do was kill 2 people, and they would be free. At that moment, the miners realized that Wong was trying to force them into becoming his accomplices. Wong, seeing their hesitation, continued his manipulation. He explained that if they were all in the same boat, he would have no reason to kill them anymore. Then, he impatiently asked what they were waiting for. The miners slowly began surrounding Wenxuan with their weapons. Wenxuan, unfazed, reminded them that their decision was entirely their own. He was about to prepare for a fight when, to his surprise, they did not attack him. Wong was shocked. Furious, he shouted at the miners, demanding to know if they wanted to die. He reminded them that their only way out was to do as he said. But then, to Wong's disbelief, the miners shouted back at him, telling him to shut up. They declared that they were not so cowardly as to kill a kid who had not even fully grown just to save themselves. One of the miners then shouted for Wenxuan to take Li and get out of there immediately. They insisted that this was an adult matter and that he should not be involved. Wenxuan could hardly believe what he was hearing. Even Wong was stunned. Anger overtook Wong as he shouted at the miners that if they were looking to die, they had no one to blame but themselves. He then aimed the gun at them, calling them fools. Just as he was about to pull the trigger, a sudden blast of strong ice power erupted from behind him. In an instant, Wong's gun was frozen solid. The miners turned in shock while Wong, furious, turned around to see what had just happened. His expression darkened when he realized what he was looking at. Wenxuan's true identity was revealed. He was a ghost beast tamer. The miners felt proud that Wenxuan was already a ghost beast tamer at such a young age and believed that they were definitely saved, which angered Wong even more. Furious, Wong ordered his poisonous sting centipede to kill them. The centipede spat poisonous smoke from its mouth, and Wenxuan immediately ordered Extreme Ice Dog to block the poison. The dog jumped forward and released a strong blast of ice from its mouth, stopping the smoke from spreading. The ice froze the poison, shattering it in the process and continuing toward the centipede. Unfortunately, the centipede managed to jump away in time to dodge the attack. The centipede then quickly burrowed underground, crawling beneath the surface, which shocked everyone. The miners warned Wenxuan to watch his step. Wong laughed at their panicked expressions and mockingly told Wenxuan that if he kneeled and begged, he might consider sparing his life. Wenxuan, unfazed, responded that no matter how much Wong pleaded, he would never spare him. Wong, enraged, called Wenxuan a fool and ordered the centipede to kill him. A sudden noise came from the ground beside Wenxuan as the centipede rapidly dug its way up at high speed, launching itself at him. Before it could reach him, Strawberry Cat moved at an incredible speed, kicking the centipede away. The centipede slammed against the wall and fell to the ground, collapsed. Wong, in disbelief, questioned how it was possible, but Wenxuan simply reminded him that he had already warned him. He was not going to let him escape. Wong then angrily demanded to know how Wenxuan could have 2 ghost beasts. Wenxuan ignored him, picking up a pickaxe from the ground and swinging it toward Wong, shouting that he should die immediately. Before the attack could land, Li jumped at him, stopping him. She pinned him to the ground and told him that he could not kill anyone, because if he did, he would never be able to go back. She assured him that she would make sure Wong got the punishment he deserved. Wenxuan, struggling under her hold, stuttered that he knew, but quickly shouted at her to get off because he could not breathe. Nearby, Strawberry Cat smirked while watching him struggle. The miners felt relieved that they were finally safe and out of danger, though some were disappointed at losing the huge mineral they had found. Li placed handcuffs on Wong and told him that it was time for him to come with her. She then asked what he had been plotting and ordered him to tell her everything. Wong agreed. Li then told the others that it was best for them to leave immediately. Suddenly, the entire area shook violently. Wenxuan quickly realized that the mine walls had been damaged from the earlier impacts and could collapse at any moment. He shouted for everyone to run. The miners followed his command and rushed toward the exit. Lee, however, could barely move, still too weak to run. Suddenly, a massive section of the ceiling collapsed above her. Wenxuan reacted instantly, dragging her away just in time before she was crushed. He then ordered Strawberry Cat and Extreme Ice Dog to get Lee out first, promising that he would catch up later. Both ghost beasts agreed and quickly led her toward safety. As they ran off, Wenxuan turned back, shouting for Lee to escape while he went back for Wong. Lee agreed. Just as Wenxuan was about to reach Wong, the ceiling collapsed behind him, trapping him inside. Lee, standing outside, looked back in horror and called out to Wenxuan, asking if he was all right. Wenxuan reassured her that he was fine and urged her to run away, promising that he would find a way out. Behind him, Wong suddenly laughed. Mocking Wenxuan, Wong shouted that he deserved this and teasingly pointed out that after all his efforts he would die here with him, as his companion in the grave. Wenxuan remained silent for a moment, then slipped his hand into his coat pocket. His expression turned cold as he reminded Wong that he would never forgive him. Wenxuan explained that he had not killed Wong not because of mercy, but because there were too many witnesses. Wong's smirk faded. Realization struck, and he stuttered as he asked what Wenxuan meant by that. Wenxuan pulled out a gun and answered his question. He was going to kill him. He aimed the gun at Wong and questioned him about the recent mining accidents, asking if they were all his doing and why he had done it. Wong, in a panic, shouted that he had been forced, and that if he had not helped them kill people, they would have exposed the murders he had committed. Wenxuan then asked if Wong was referring to the beast tamer from that day, to which Wong replied yes. Wong desperately tried to bargain, offering to help set a trap for that beast tamer if Wenxuan spared him. However, Wenxuan responded that it was unnecessary and that the only thing Wong had to do now was go to hell. Without hesitation, he fired the gun at the ceiling above Wong. The impact caused the ceiling to collapse, and Wong stood frozen in shock as a massive stone came crashing down toward him. In his final moments, fear took over, and he called for help, but it was already too late. The stone crushed him completely. As the dust settled, Wenxuan saw Wong's lifeless hand sticking out from beneath the rubble, confirming his death. He coldly remarked that Wong only knew how to call for help when it was his turn to die. Without sparing another glance, he turned away, muttering that Wong was nothing but trash. Looking toward the wall behind him, he failed to notice the dark smoke rising from Wong's corpse. The smoke slithered through the air and pierced through the stones. Meanwhile, outside the cave, Lee shouted for everyone to keep digging, reminding them that Wenxuan and Wong were still trapped inside. Strawberry Cat and Extreme Ice Dog were also helping to dig. Suddenly, Strawberry Cat's ears perked up as it noticed dark smoke emerging from the cave. Before it could react, the smoke forcefully entered its body. Strawberry Cat let out a pained scream before collapsing to the ground. The miners saw it faint and immediately rushed to help. Carefully lifting it, they moved it away from the cave, telling it to rest for now, and reassuring it that they would bring its owner back safely, later in Ning City Hospital. Wenxuan woke up abruptly and sat up in a panic. However, seeing his surroundings, he gradually calmed down, realizing that he was in a hospital. Looking around, he spotted Extreme Ice Dog and Strawberry Cat sleeping beneath his bed. A sense of relief washed over him. If not for those two ghost beasts, he likely would have been buried alive along with Wang in the mine. His thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door, followed by a voice asking if he was awake. A woman entered the room, prompting him to ask if she was the doctor. She introduced herself as the vice president of the Beast Tamers Association, which shocked him. Recognizing her name, he asked if she was really Baishi, the vice president of the Tianyun Beast Tamer Association. She calmly confirmed it. Curious, he asked why she was there, and she informed him that it was about his two ghost beasts. She explained that after conducting an investigation, they found that he did not have a beast tamer license, nor was he registered with the association. According to the rules, this meant that his two ghost beasts had to be confiscated. Wenxuan was surprised but quickly realized that without his beasts, he would be defenseless. Determined to keep them, he was about to explain his situation, but Baishi calmly told him not to rush, as she had a proposal for him. She then offered him a chance to earn a beast tamer license. If he passed the exam, he could officially keep his ghost beasts. When he asked what would happen if he failed, she simply stated that he would keep trying until he succeeded. Confused by her generosity, he asked why she was giving him this chance. She responded that during the mine collapse, the workers had reported that his ghost beasts did everything they could to clear the blocked tunnel. Wenxuan questioned what that had to do with anything. Baishi explained that all wild ghost beasts harbored some level of hostility toward humans. Only through the formation of a contract could a tamer and a beast cooperate and benefit each other. In other words, without a contract, ghost beasts had no reason to help humans on their own. Because of this, she was curious as to how he had managed to make those two ghost beasts willingly risk themselves to save him, despite not having formed a contract. Wenxuan realized that he had no right or reason to refuse her offer. Baishi acknowledged that he was smart, and suggested that he truly had the potential to become a beast tamer. However, he sarcastically remarked that a lab rat would be a more accurate description of his situation. Without reacting to his comment, Baishi walked past his bed and opened the window. Wenxuan asked when the exam would take place, but she simply told him to call her once he had recovered. Before leaving, he asked if the people from the mine were safe. She cryptically told him that he would find out soon, but warned him that things might get a little noisy. Her words left him confused. Suddenly, from outside, a loud voice called his name, asking if he had finally woken up. Lee suddenly rushed into the room, bombarding him with questions about his condition. The nurse frantically chased after her, begging her not to shout inside the hospital. At that moment, Wenxuan finally understood what Baishi meant by noise. Looking toward the window, he saw Baishi riding a beast bird, waving goodbye as she departed. Before he could react, Lee forcefully turned his head away from the window, demanding his attention. She asked what he was thinking about and whether he had hit his head. He remained silent for a moment, contemplating whether he should pretend to faint again.